And I know day in and day out, without publicly coming in and saying it, that historically, I'm one of the best quarterbacks to play the game. Super Bowl champ Brian Clark joins us for this one. Domonique, you're up first. Historically, he's one of the best to play the game. Domonique, do you think Jameis is right with that statement?
Yes. While he's not exactly right, like he's not one of the best to play the game at this moment, there is potential. All right, so here we go. So if the league stopped today, he won't go down as all-time great. But listen to this list of players. Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Ben Roethlisberger, then Jameis Winston. That's the list of players who have thrown for more yards in a single season than Jameis Winston. Behind him is Marino and Mahomes. He threw for 5,100 yards last year and 30 touchdowns.
How's the interception
That's pretty
ratio?
impressive. That's pretty high. However, if you look
does
at
that count for yards after catch for the other team?
Hold on.
Because if you include that, it's like 8,000 yards.
You stop it. He does have the all-time record for most pick sixes in a season with 7. However, he did throw 30 interceptions, but you know who else threw more than that? George Frederick Blanda threw 42 interceptions. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's an all-time great. Jameis Winston is on his track. Blanda threw for 42 interceptions.
You're really digging this morning, Domonique. Took out the shovel.
In 1962, he threw 42 interceptions in only 14 games, and he had a 10% interception rate in that season. So Jameis Winston is much better than he is than George Blanda, who ended up going to the Hall of Fame. He's more talented, and I agree that last year he was historically one of the worst quarterbacks. But he was also historically one of the best quarterbacks. If he can suss out that trash, then Jameis Winston, you can't be in the same season. Jameis Winston was for play to play. You watch Jameis Winston in one game, he'll throw a pass that only Mahomes can throw, and then next play he'll throw a pick 6. So I agree, the confidence may be a little misplaced. He may not be that self-aware, but there are all-time greats who throw a lot of picks, and Jameis is on the rise.
I don't know if you.
Wait till he takes on the Saints.
I'm unclear whether you're clear on this, but the way it works when you judge a player is it's not like the good things are isolated and so he's one of the best ever, and then you isolate the bad things, he's also one of the worst ever. It gets weighed. So the bad things take away from the good things. Look, here's the bottom line about Jameis. I thought you were going to argue, and I was telling you at the commercial break, you're predictable. I know where you're going with this. I thought you were going to argue. Look, he won a Heisman Trophy. He was the first overall pick. He's been a starting quarterback for a couple of years. There haven't been that many quarterbacks in history, starting quarterbacks. There are only now 32 teams and X number of seasons. If you're one of the top couple of 100 quarterbacks ever, I guess you could say, I thought that would be the gist of the argument, which would make some sense maybe. But
he's
even
had 3 coaches.
No.
Wait. He's had 3 coaches. Wait till he gets there with Sean Payton after Drew Brees retires after the season. My man Jameis gonna cook. Sorry, go ahead.
Look. Here's the bottom line about Jameis. He's a bust so far. He could turn it around, maybe. It would be a big deal if he did. It's not that many guys turn it around like that. But he's a bust. He was drafted first overall, and now he doesn't have a starting job. Period. If you don't have a starting job this deep into your career as the #1 overall draft pick, that's called a bust. So a bust can't be one of the best players who ever lived. Like, if he turns it around, you could maybe make the argument, right? Like, what was Rich Gannon doing for a bunch of years before he became a machine? Even someone like recently, like Tannehill, boy, he was kind of a bust. And then all of a sudden he wasn't.
Drew Brees
but Jameis would have
example.
to do something at least like that to be taken seriously. Otherwise, you have got to be kidding. This is irrational exuberance about his own career and overconfidence by Jameis Winston. Bless him, but was he off base?
Man, the last time Jameis Winston said to myself, extremely questionable, was before the was talking about eating W's. That's the level of questionable this is. And then I agree with Max. When Dom started this, I thought he was going to talk about some of Jameis Winston's great accomplishments, a national championship and an undefeated team. trophy winner, the #1 overall in the Pro Bowl. Going into Jameis's third year, I think it was, we were on a tour. We were going to different camps. We went to New York. We went to Tampa Bay. And I thought Jameis Winston was ascending. I thought that Jameis Winston would be battling to be the best quarterback in the NFC South. And since then, he's taken a nosedive. And so life is about, right? So if Jameis Winston says this after his first season or after his second season, when he is still on the climb, where he is still progressing, still getting better, then we can say, you know what? This could be true. It's not necessarily true right now, but this is something we could see in the future, but he isn't. Jameis Winston is on actually the downside of where his career has been so far. Jameis Winston is in a situation to where there was no opportunity for him to be a starting quarterback anywhere in this league. And he had to take a backup job, and he said he took one purposely for less money because it was better than for his career. I understand that. But you don't get to that point being one of the greatest of all time. And you mentioned Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees. These were guys that was getting better. Drew Brees had to walk off the field, and he couldn't put his throwing arm down. But that guy still got a deal to be a starting quarterback in two places. And I think the last part is this, and Dom, you can go after this. If two teams are going into the locker room and it's 21-20, and one of those teams was up 21 and the other was down 21, they have different perspectives on being tied. One team is excited. Hell yeah, we just scored 21 straight points. It's a tie game. We're going to come out and go hard. And the other team is like, man, we had a big lead and people thought we were this. Now look how far we've fallen. Jameis is the fallen team. Jameis is the guy that had the world in his hands and he let it go. So you can't be one of the
Domonique.
greatest quarterbacks to play historically when you're historically a backup now.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.